Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
Hey, James. Another spring day here in Florida.
Yeah, it's nice. What I like about this podcast is we have a lot of entrepreneurs that we work with and stuff, coaches that help our business, and it's nice. But rarely do we have a guest that actually is part of our ecosystem. He feeds us work.
Yeah.
We've been working for him forever. He's friends with our general manager. And it's kind of nice to be able to talk about, because we've been able to see his business grow and then go through his rebrand, and now he's starting to boom. And so it's kind of fun to have that type of guest.
Well, and
here.
you know what we figured out in the pre-show? Apparently, I met him 7 or 8 years ago. We quoted on a job for him.
Right.
And as soon as I saw him, you know, Mike's been talking about him for a while. He's lifelong friends with Mike Elliott, our general manager. And I'm like, the name didn't hit me, but when I saw him and him too, as soon as we caught eyes this morning, we were like, I know you. He's like, I know you. You've been on a job for me one time.
Yeah. So I guess I probably should introduce him. We're talking about Matthew Collins, and Matthew owns the Collins Kitchen and Bath Company. He a small business owner, but is doing big things here in Central Florida. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. So listen, I mean, we kind of boost you up a little bit, but you know, Collins Kitchen and Bath, I want to know all about kind of your background and where you've come from, and how'd you end up here now with this successful business?
Well, I started out in retail, and after not being able to move forward as being a single dad in that, I bumped my head into construction, working for my uncle. And then once he moved close to Alabama, I basically didn't want to quit doing what I was doing and started my own company.
Yeah. And back then, what was it?
Back then, what was it?
Yeah, what'd you call your company then?
Oh, back then we were Collins Carpentry and Remodeling. We did a lot of our own drywall repairs. We did a lot of built-ins, baseboard, a lot of the smaller work.
Okay.
And eventually, after about a year, we started getting into bathrooms and realized how good we were at bathrooms.
Yeah.
And I would say over the next 3 or 4 years, bathrooms became 80% of our business. And we just got better and better and better at it. And I love bathrooms.
Yeah. Well, I see your social media, and you do a lot of great videos and pictures of your bathroom. So I know the quality is there. Obviously, we're on your job sites quite often as well, so we can see it firsthand. So being an entrepreneur, I can say it properly, is not for everybody, right? There's a lot of challenges, risks. I mean, you're kind of venturing into the unknown, per se.
100%.
So what helped you through that, or what kind of got you in that process to be an entrepreneur versus being an employee of somebody else?
I didn't really realize how good I would be at it. To be good at entrepreneurship, I think you have to have a lot of discipline. You have to be passionate about what you do, passionate about helping people. I was very good at being an employee, but where I really struggled was not being able to be the visionary and set the tone and make bigger decisions. I was very good at executing. And once I got into the entrepreneurship and I was able to make decisions and then execute on my own decisions and be passionate about it, it was a game changer. I realized this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, it feels like you're reading from my playbook. I could use that exact same minute and a half. That was exactly how I felt. I was a great employee, but I chafed against having somebody above me. I wanted to make the decisions. I wanted to cut my own path. I really identify with that.
Yeah. You know, I was very high up in a really large company, and there were things that we were doing for our employees or to our employees that I didn't like. You know, I didn't like treating employees like a number. I didn't like treating them like they were expendable. And so when I retired and I broke away from that industry, one of the things when I came on with Bill was, we're not going to be that company. We're going to be a company that honors our employees, that we're going to have integrity. Not that my company didn't have integrity. It's just when you have 150 employees, it's hard to maintain a certain level of kinship with your team. But for us, we wanted to build a family, and we wanted to build a hole in the wall family. So that was key to us. So starting out, was it just you?
Yeah, it was just me. My wife was still working at the time. We did start the business basically together. We moved in with my parents to start the business. We were planning a wedding. We stayed there for about 6 months. We got married, got into an apartment, started a business, and that's basically how I live my life.
I mean, that took a lot of guts. She trusted you enough to do that. I mean, I don't want to live with my parents.
Yeah, it was trying, and my parents are great. They took us in with no problem, and we had 2 kids at the time, and it was definitely something else, but we had to do it, and we were excited to start our own business, and we jumped off the cliff and we built the plane on the way down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did that look like in the beginning? Were how were you finding work, and was it steady?
So originally when I first started, I was 1099ing for another contractor, and that kept us busy for about a year. And then that had fallen through, and we ended up parting ways not great. He wrote me a check, canceled the check. We ended up with negative $1,000 in our business account, and started from there. It was very frightening.
So you started with less than zero.
Less than zero. And we had just gotten a van for the family. We were 3 months into an apartment, negative money in our account, no prospects. And I just started hitting the pavement. I lucked onto one job. I went to go look at 3 items. They ended up hiring us to do the whole house. Wow. And I spent 3 months working on that project while they were waiting to move in. They were still in their other house. And that 3 months gave me enough time to drum up future work. And we just kept at it and built on top of quality. And it did well for us.
So starting out, you probably didn't have the budget to do lots of marketing, right?
Nope. I think our budget was $300 a month when we first started with Google.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, not a lot of people have that tolerance for risk. But I'll tell you what, the adventure is crazy. Because how long ago was that? How many years did you start
this? That was 8.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So here you are now. Obviously, you've got more employees, and you're not living with your mom and dad anymore, right?
No, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. And business ownership, it's not for everybody, but it is for some people, and it is really for some people.
Well, and frankly, it's the only thing. That's what we were talking about on our employee versus entrepreneurship podcast a few weeks ago. If you have the DNA to be an entrepreneur, you can't be happy doing something else. You'll just never be satisfied working for somebody.
No, like I said, I did well working for other people, but it was never exciting. You find ways to make it passionate, but there's no comparison for me than working for myself. And it's created a lot of opportunity with my family and the time with them. And I did hear you talking on your podcast about, going out after dinner and having to do a couple of estimates. For me, there's some freedom there, because if I wake up and I've got a couple of meetings and my wife's like, hey, we're going to go to the zoo after lunch. I'm like, okay, I'm going with you. When you're putting the kids to bed, I'll do my estimates. Right. It's beautiful, the amount of freedom you have in that, but it's chosen freedom. For sure, you work your tail off.
Yes.
But you get to pick when you're working, and you get to pick when you're not. And that's the game changer.
Well, one of the things I always enjoyed was you get to pick largely who you're working for.
100%.
There have been clients I fired before they ever had a chance to hire me. I fired them. Like, I don't think we're going to be a good fit. Yeah.
And there's times you'll go look at a job and if it's for you or if it's not. And usually if you take them to the side, you're like, listen, I don't think we're a good fit for each other. They respect that more than you just sending them this outrageous estimate that they're not going to take.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious how you kind of evolved to doing bathrooms, because you were saying that's sort of where you started, but I also understand you do kitchens now. But how did that evolve rather than doing sort of soffits or hanging doors as a specialty or other things that you could do in carpentry and remodeling?
So when I was working for that other contractor, that's when I started doing my own tile work. And I really, really enjoyed doing the tile work. And that first job that we had landed when we were negative $1,000 in our account, One of them was a bathroom, but there was also a lot of carpentry and painting and flooring that went along with that. And a couple of people had seen that bathroom, and then they had hired us, and it just kind of spread. And I realized that I was very passionate about doing the bathrooms. Like, that is all I wanted to do. And we did that for a long time. I didn't hire my first employee until 3 years in, which I probably should have hired a little sooner than that. But you get comfortable. Sometimes you have to push yourself and grow. And I did it. And then as I started hiring more people and learning the kind of people we were looking for and learning the kind of skills we were looking for in people, I realized, okay, well, we can kind of expand this a little bit. And when you're doing a bathroom, a kitchen has a little bit of a difference. Obviously, you've got more cabinetry and you've got countertops, but for the most part, a lot of it's still the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of having the skill set and the right suppliers. So we started kind of building on that, getting the right cabinet people, the right countertop suppliers, the right countertop fabricators. And we started piecing together this network of employees and subcontractors that turned out beautiful kitchens.
Mm. Yep. And do you find a steady supply of that? And I ask on purpose because when I knew you were coming, I did a little research online, and I figured out that the kitchen in 2023, the kitchen remodeling business nationwide was a $180 billion industry.
It is. It's expensive to do a kitchen and to do it well. Anybody can throw a kitchen together, but I find that kitchens and bathrooms, when you're really good at it, you can change an entire house, the feel of it, every get together, all the family memories. Those few areas, for me, I feel like change people's lives. The first place you go to when you wake up is your bathroom. And if your bathroom is gorgeous and you've hand selected everything and you're in love with it, somebody put it together well, it sets the tone for your whole day. Next thing you do, you go make coffee in the kitchen. If that thing is exactly the way you wanted it to be or better than you expected, before you head out to work, you're already in a phenomenal mood.
You've really thought that through, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, when we were building our house, when we lived in Las Vegas, the 2 rooms that we upgraded were the kitchen and the bathroom.
Is that right?
Built from scratch. And we didn't care about the flooring as much as we did. We didn't care about bullnose corner bead versus square corner bead. I didn't care about the skip trowel on the walls versus orange peel texture. But my wife's like, I want a double oven. I want a granite countertop. I want to make sure I've got a nice refrigerator. She made sure that the kitchen was ready because we know we entertain.
Yeah.
And it was important to us. And then she wanted a beautiful bathroom in the master. And as far as I'm concerned, those 2 items were the most important items to have in the house because they also increase the resale value of every home you're in.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it creates a lifestyle for you. And we all work really hard for our homes.
Yeah.
We should be able to take pride in it. If you're going to invest money into your house, understand that you're investing money into your lifestyle. You're investing money into a serotonin boost every time you walk into that area. Every time you have family over, you're proud. You can show what you've worked so hard for. There's nothing worse than working your tail off for a house you can't afford and that you can't fix up. Even start small. We just bought a house 18 months ago, and it's like, okay, we could do this entire house, but it's like, let's start with the smallest bathroom first, and let's really feel the style out for what we're looking for, because you can get what I like to call decision fatigue. And if you start on the biggest thing first, you're going to be so broke down. You're going to be fighting with your spouse. Like, start small and really give it some thought before you dive in.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. Yes.
And you really hit on something there. The amount of stress between spouses during a renovation. I've read that it's absolutely enormous amount of stress on a marriage, frankly.
It can be very tough, but it's all about how the contractor prepares the client to let them know, to be with them hand in hand as they're making selections. I have all my clients, when they pick things, email me everything so I can look at it. Because there's things we've come across where there's issues where I can say, okay, don't pick that, and this is why. It's hard enough to make decisions, but to worry about if you made the right decision, that's an 8 out of 10 times something that clients shouldn't have to worry about.
I'm curious, do you have a situation where maybe a husband and a wife are just at loggerheads about a style decision or a finish or some part of the project? And if so, how do you help them work through that?
So that's a little bit more tough.
The wife's always right? Just whatever the wife wants.
There's usually one party that is willing to submit to the other one. There are times where they're not, and I'll come in and I'll give my opinion and that'll help. There's other times where, they're going to butt heads and somebody's got to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
We can offer a designer if the clients would like to pay for that, and that can be very helpful. It just depends on each client. We try to tailor the experience and the job to each person or persons.
All right. So bathroom talk for a second.
Okay.
I'm a bathroom snob at this point. I will never buy a house again that doesn't have a water closet, right? I want the toilet in a separate, with the door closed if I want to. And I'll never own a home that does not have a double sink. Okay. That's about it. Stand-up shower's fine. Jacuzzi tub, fine. Whatever. Those are nice. But I got to have a water closet and I got to have a double sink. Outside of maybe those, what are some features for bathrooms that you really like that you kind of steer people towards? What are some really cool features that are kind of maybe new in the market, or you just think just outstanding design?
The one thing we change in almost every bathroom that no builder either thinks about or cares to change is where the valve is for the shower to turn it on and off. Do you know how many bathrooms I come into where you have to get wet to turn on the shower? Or you have to try to slide by the toilet to get the shower on?
Really?
In the 6 weeks we're cold here in Florida,
Yeah.
you don't want to get blasted with 40-degree water to turn it on.
No.
That's one of the big things. A lot of people, vanities and storage space is always an issue. We find that if you don't have enough storage for your stuff, it's going to be on the counter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that doesn't help when you wake up in the morning and you want to love this bathroom and all you can see is all the stuff you have.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, don't look at my bathroom counter.
I wonder if you can talk a little bit about some of the trends that you're seeing in kitchens and bathrooms now.
So we were in the white and gray era for a long time, and
it's a classic look, isn't it?
Yeah, and I see we're getting away from that.
Okay.
I'm starting to see a lot of blues, greens, beige. We're going back to wood stained cabinets.
Okay, well that's 50s and 60s now.
So it's not like the oak stained cabinets you see in a lot of the older kitchens. It's a little bit more updated than that. It has more of an elegant and modern look, but the warm earthy tones is what we're really getting into. And I see people spending a lot more money on countertops and cabinets in bathrooms for sure.
Okay. And what is the popular countertop now?
Quartz is very popular. Most people are really going with a white quartz, maybe with some light gray veining or some gold speckles, but white is really a good choice. In a bathroom, you can go a little crazy with too much color. You have to have an anchor of a little bit less color, and either cabinets or countertops is a great place to do that.
So you bring me to my next question now, because you obviously know a lot about color and design. Do you do that for your customers, or do you have someone that you work with to help them design a kitchen and bathroom?
So with the initial estimate, we do help our clients with certain choices. And if we notice they're still really struggling, we have a designer that we work with hand in hand, and her and I will work together. It's basically two separate companies where we come in and we execute all the work. Mm-hmm. We order some of the materials, but she orders most of the materials. She'll bring selections to the client and help them pick and make sure there's not a bunch of clashes with colors or design.
So how much time do you usually spend on the design process? And then how long is the kind of the build out process take?
It depends heavily. For the design process, when it comes to a bathroom, for the most part, 80% of the time we can get the design hammered out, as in layout and options, within the first estimate, and give you an idea of what you're looking for. When it comes to the kitchen, it's a little bit more detailed. It's a much more expensive process. So you definitely don't want to do this within the next 30 years. But what we'll do is we have a cabinet supplier that will come in during our initial estimate, bring sample doors, offer a free rendering, and go through as many changes as they need. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different design changes.
Oh, wow.
Until they have exactly what they want. And you can see it on the computer, what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And then from there, once those big decisions are made, we help the client figure out, colors for finishes, tiles for the backsplash, if they want a countertop backsplash, if they don't want a backsplash. We just try to hold their hand through the process.
Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with hole-in-the-wall drywall repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today. So, me and Bill was just at home show over the weekend, and I see tons of commercials that people are trying to get their bathrooms done in just one day. It's a one-day bathroom, and I look at it and go, "You can get a new bathroom in one day," but that is a fiberglass plastic tub that they've just glued into
and
the
I
wall.
find myself asking the question, why is this great? Why? And my granddad used to say, nobody's going to ride by on a horse and say, "Do you know how fast they did that?" Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
How well did you do it?
So what are some of the differences? Because sure they can get a bathroom in a day, but that's a different process, different quality than something you're providing.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those bathrooms, and I've had clients do those bathrooms and then have us come in and do the other bathroom. For me, I don't think they're going to last as long, and they cost almost just as much.
Is that right?
A lot of them, they're 60, 70% of what we charge, where in a lot of those scenarios, they'll put the plastic right over the old tub and the old tile. There's barely any demo work, and they do come in and out in a day. And that's a benefit if you're worried about the first 4 weeks. I'm worried about the next 30 or 40 years. Right. So we'll come in, depending on the bathroom. If we're doing custom everything, it can take up to 6 weeks. We can get in and out within 3 weeks. Kitchens, typically with permitting and everything involved, you're looking at 5 or 6 weeks at a minimum. Okay. But they can take longer than that, depending on how ornate you go with the cabinetry.
So let's say start to finish, a customer reaches out to you, you begin a design phase, and then you begin to build. So what would be the length of time between start to finish on a project? Is this a couple of months, 6 months, a year?
No, typically from the moment we look at a job, on average, it's about 3 months to start. So that gives you enough time to get drawings, permits, make selections, get everything delivered on site. And then from that point, it's usually less than 2 months for completion. So from the day we come out, it's almost always under 6 months to the finished product.
Okay. Well, and it's an important point you make. You kind of just skipped over it, but you're pulling permits, which a lot of contractors won't, which permitting is important because that means an inspector is there looking at the work, determining this is to code so that you're not likely. It's never people do have trouble with things after they're built, but you're less likely to have trouble with it if somebody has inspected and passed it on the work that you've done.
And not only that, but most people that go through the process of doing permits actually care about their work. They're going to have a high quality typically. Now that doesn't speak for everybody, but with us, I've seen where people have not pulled permits on $1.2 million renovations.
Oh my.
And I mean, they were fine, but there's scenarios where if you don't do things legally the correct way, and then you don't disclose certain things when you sell a house, the new homeowners can come back and sue you.
Yes.
And that's not something you want to worry about when you're in your new house and you've sold your old one.
You mentioned that, you were 3 years in before you kind of hired your first employee. At what point were you able or more comfortable being able to kind of pull back from your day-to-day, getting your hands dirty. Because I know you like doing it. You like laying tile. You like crafting with your hand. We're men. We like to beat our chest and say, I made that pretty. But sometimes you have to work on your business and not necessarily work inside your business, as they say. At what point did that happen for you?
I waited quite a while. And to be honest, when I started stepping back, I didn't like it because I didn't feel that same sense of pride because I wasn't working with my hands. But once I got deeper into working on the business than in it, I realized I was creating something different, but I was still creating something beautiful. And for me, once I got past that initial stage of bumping my head against the wall and learning all the hard lessons and realized, okay, I can really do this. I can put together a team that most others can't, and we can produce a quality at a fair price. We're definitely not going to be your cheapest company because we're always going to put quality first. And we don't ever want to have to worry about profits or money if we need to turn around and start something over or do it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we touched on that in the pre-show that low price is not exactly equivalent to value. And that's, you and I both agree. We align on that. We're trying to provide value.
Well, as someone who loves doing business, I want to applaud you for doing that. A lot of business owners, they think that they have to be the one to do all the work. I built it. I mean, Bill hasn't touched drywall in years, right? So, but yet he could do it, and he was great at it. The idea of scaling is impossible if you're out there, if you're the only one that's doing the work, right? So being able to grow and expand and scale your company, you have to build a system and a team that you can trust, and train them the way you want things to happen. But being able to be the puppet master versus the puppet itself is really pretty important.
And you know what? Neither one is wrong. There are people, Fidel has been in our orbit for 30 years. He's a great carpenter, can lay tile, super guy. He doesn't want to manage anybody. He doesn't want to grow a company. He just wants to show up and do the work and go home. And he's completely fulfilled with that. But if your goal is to build a company, then you just have to grow past, the fulfillment of doing the work every day. But you're right, though, Matthew, you do find fulfillment in being able to, I remember from college, they told me management is accomplishing work through other people. And I go, okay.
I personally know that as big meat puppets that we are, things happen to our bodies and we get sick. Whether it could be, I hurt my knee, my back, my hip, whether I got in a car accident, whatever it is. And so if my entire company, if my family is relying on me to be 100% and then I'm not, then I'm now putting my whole family in jeopardy. This is kind of where I never wanted to be the sole owner because I want to make sure that we are, scalable. So, Bill got sick several years ago. It's like, we kept rolling. He was missed, but he wasn't, the company kept paying paychecks. Right. And so I applaud you for growing past that, because if you needed to take a vacation in the old days, you don't get paid. Right. But now you've got crew that if you need to take a vacation, you can't take a vacation and everyone's still getting paid. The work's still happening. Right.
And even my guys, when you've been with us a certain time, you get PTO. So if they're sick, I can step in. My lead guy, he's amazing. He's been with us almost 3 years now, and he can do everything in the field I can do. I can rely on him. I don't have to check on him. If he's out sick, it happened. He went on vacation 2 months ago, and me and my son went out in the field and took over for him for 3 days.
Love it.
And that's what I love about me doing the work for 3 years. You can't get one by me. My guys can't, because I've done it all and I know how it should be and I know what's possible. And that, I think, is what makes really successful entrepreneurs. You don't just walk into a business and start telling people what to do without being on the ground floor and doing it very successfully.
You got a lot of passion for this. I'm curious, what does this look like for you 2 to 5 to 10 years down the road? What do you see for yourself?
Well, my son is 15. He's homeschooled. We homeschool all our kids. So that creates opportunity for him to work with us part-time. I've got a great lead guy. I've got great guys out there, and I know that can always change. But my son is passionate about coming into the business. And my hope is to train him up to start being able to do some of the estimates, learn everything out in the field the way I did. So when he goes and meets with clients, he can give them real life experience of, okay, I know this works, this doesn't work.
Right.
I would like to take even further of a step back within, I'd say, the next 5 to 8 years, to where I am really just focused on the business and I can hand off sales to him and then have a great crew and great subcontractors like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We have you on all of our knockdown jobs. And, you know, it's funny. You asked me a question before we started this. You said, hey, did we get that job? No, you didn't. Cause I went with the cheaper quote and it was a nightmare.
Mm.
And I know you guys would have come in and probably knocked it out in 2 hours. The guy spent 3 days there and it still wasn't right.
Oh my.
And it was horrible, but that was my first job.
Yeah.
And you showed up on it to bid it. And I hadn't learned those lessons yet.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put quality first.
There you go.
And you have to know who your target client is, because if you get known for quality and you start taking on clients that are more worried about price than quality, it's not going to mesh well.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's not going to be your client.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that's what we've discovered. We're looking, I mean, we want as much business as we can get, but sometimes that customer, they're just all about price. And you talked about it, you know, sometimes your competitors are willing to do it at a price that's below your cost.
Right.
And you just have to walk away from that.
Well, there's no way they can do that job without cutting corners, right? Are they pulling permits? Do they have workers' comp on their employees? If someone gets hurt on your property, are they suing you? Are they suing the homeowner?
Yeah, and the homeowner may not be aware if somebody does get hurt and there's no workers' comp. Guess whose insurance they're coming after?
And
the homeowner.
Here's another thing people don't think about is a lot of these less expensive companies, they'll do their own plumbing work. They don't have a contractor's license. They don't have a plumbing license. They don't have an electrical license. So if your house catches on fire, if your toilet leaks while you're sleeping, your insurance company is not going to cover that.
No.
Because you were negligent for hiring the wrong person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, trying to save $15,000 or $20,000 on a project could turn into a $40,000 remodel.
Yeah,
because
so
you
true.
flooded the whole downstairs.
Well, and my fear always is that somebody gets injured by your negligent work, or heaven forbid, you catch a house on fire and somebody gets killed. How would you like living with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And workers' comp, to not have workers' comp for your employees, I find irresponsible. You should care about your employees like you care about your clients, like you care about your family, like you care about your friends, and making sure they're covered is part of that. And a lot of people don't cover that cost because it is so expensive. And then you have to pass that on to the client. And that's why we lose some projects to the less expensive guys, but we do things the right way every time.
Yeah. There's overhead to running a quality business. That's just all there is to it. All right. So tell us about maybe a project you're super proud of, a big win. You know, what were some of the things that just kind of made that project sing for you?
Well, there are 2 projects that we had just completed that I do absolutely love. And this gets really into going back with the earthy tones because we did so much gray and we did so much white, and those came out phenomenal. But we just completed a kitchen and we're doing another one with the same exact wood stained cherry cabinets with the flat panel doors. And it's what's kind of coming into style, but hasn't really caught on yet. And to see a kitchen that's not just white cabinets, shaker style, it's been really nice to see. In that kitchen, you can see it on our social media, but they went with a herringbone blue backsplash with a white quartz countertop and a gray flooring. So it was a perfect mixture of those colors. And you have to look at a kitchen like layers. You know, you've got your floor, your cabinets, your countertops, your backsplash, and then more cabinets. And you have to make sure you stack those colors appropriately, or it can look way too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So do you have any horror stories? Do you have any head scratching moments? Any clients that were just too unruly, or a project that you hated the design but still did it anyways?
There's been a couple where I didn't love the design, and I will say 95% of the time it actually turns out okay. I'll second guess the client. It's very rare that you can actually make just horrific decisions. Usually you can tie it together. But I've had some projects where one particular, I'm going to try and say it without saying too much, but it was a husband and wife and mother/mother-in-law. And the husband and wife were paying for it. It was the mother-in-law's house. It was going to be their investment property when she passed. The three of them were not on the same page at all.
Uh-oh.
And I had all three of them calling and texting me. And one person, when they're living in the house together, because we're remodeling her house, when they're all fighting, I have to be the bad guy or they can't live together. And there was just issues with not having materials on time. I had tile installer scheduled. They finally picked the tile 7 weeks after that date. Like just things like that. And I learned a lot of really tough lessons on, okay, let's make sure all selections are picked before we start. Let's make sure most of the materials are on site before we start.
Yeah.
You learn those lessons once if you're smart. You don't do it over again.
Well, Matthew, how can people find you on social media? What's the best way to get a hold of you? Do you have websites, all that good stuff?
Our website is collinskb.com, and all of our handles, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok is Collins Kitchen and Bath.
Outstanding. Well, cool. Anything else before we let you go?
No, just want to say thank you for coming in today. Thanks for taking the time. Loved having you on the show.
Absolutely.
Reconnecting. I knew him. I didn't even know it. That's crazy.
Thanks for having me out. I really appreciate it.
He's now a fellow BNI member, so that's great. We get to pass referrals back and forth through BNI, so I think you're going to really enjoy that side of your growth as well. So, Matthew, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate you, and don't be a stranger. Obviously, we're going to see each other quite a bit, and thanks everyone for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.